feel like the whole woke movement, if you like, is now being kicked firmly into touch. And Zuckerberg converting in the way that he's done so dramatically, pretty much to where Elon Musk is, maybe a recognition that some of the stuff that they got up to in the 2020 election, censoring the New York Post over the Hunter Biden laptop. So, well, they're legitimate concerns. You may laugh, but I think the tinderbox for all this was set. The tinderbox for this was set when big tech, which was liberal dominated, decided to censor a legitimate true story about Hunter Biden's laptop in the run up to that election, which could have affected the election. When you do that kind of thing, then eventually it's going to come back and bite you, isn't it?
No. And by the way, Zuckerberg's comments are a reminder that it was never liberal dominated. People like me on the left never accepted that bullshit premise.
In this video, Mehdi Hasan snaps and silences Piers Morgan over Trump. So Mehdi just goes all in as Piers tries to run defense for Trump's lawsuits against media. From Hunter Biden's laptop to Elon Musk's so-called free speech, Mehdi just shuts down the spin and calls out the hypocrisy in this. And Piers will even try to dodge in this debate on Trump suing journalists. And Mehdi just keeps pressing harder on him, and it gets really heated. So make sure to watch till the end to see how Mehdi Hasan snaps and silences Piers Morgan over Trump.
The liberal media, the liberal Silicon Valley. Yeah, Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg and Peter Thiel are not liberals. And I just think, the whole woke stuff, you and I have debated that many times before. On the Hunter Biden stuff, that was very exaggerated. But it's funny you should mention the Hunter Biden New York Post suppression story, because that's what Musk is doing now, Piers. Surely, I know you like Elon Musk, but surely you've seen that he has been very repressive in his running of Twitter. Anyone he doesn't like, who goes against him, he nukes their accounts. He nuked a report the other day about whether or not he's Adrian Dittman or not. He has restricted access to pieces. He suspended journalists. You know this, right? There's data showing that Twitter has actually complied more with foreign government takedown requests on Musk's watch than on Jack Dorsey's watch. As for the comparison, the boots on the other foot, you'd have to point to me where Kamala Harris threatened the media when she was running for president. You'd have to point to me where Joe Biden was suing CBS News as Donald Trump is doing right now.
But, when it comes to threatening the media...
Piers, you're a journalist. You do not support... Do you support Donald Trump suing CBS? No.
Let me answer.
Hold on. You gave a very long question. I want to finish my answer.
Can I answer on my own show?
No, I'm answering your question first.
I can't answer.
Well, no, because you asked a question, so I'm answering it.
You just asked me a question.
Piers, let me answer, then you can come back. No, I didn't finish my point. My point is Joe Biden is not suing CBS News. Joe Biden is suing CBS News. Do you support that?
Who was in recent times...
Sorry, Donald Trump.
Hang on.
Donald Trump is suing CBS News.
I'm answering your question. If you let me, I'll answer your question. Which president of modern times was the biggest and most draconian threat in terms of his actions to journalists in America? Do you know? Barack Obama.
You're going to say Barack Obama?
Yes, because I'm right.
I think Barack Obama was bad on those issues.
He was the worst, by far.
I think Donald Trump was worse, but I think Barack Obama was right.
You know why Trump's suing
Donald
people?
Trump right now...
Trump's suing people because, actually, people like George Stephanopoulos lied about him. They exaggerated what he'd been found guilty of, and guess what? When you lie,
you and I both know ABC. You and I both know ABC would have won in court.
ABC didn't go to court. They gave him $15 million. Now you might say,
why do you think that is, Piers?
Because
of
they
the
knew they
legal
were going to
arguments,
lose,
or because they're sucking up to an authoritarian,
or because they knew they were going to lose.
Bullshit. No legal expert agrees with you on that. Piers, legal experts don't agree with you on that. Actually, most lawyers don't agree with you on that. You're wrong.
Mehdi, you'll never agree with me about
the
things
opposite.
like that.
It's because they're scared. It's because everyone's bending the knee.
It doesn't suit your agenda to accept what may have been a simple case. George Stephanopoulos lied about him.
Alright, so this is the moment where Mehdi just torches Piers over the hypocrisy of this whole free speech argument. Piers tries to push this narrative that liberal Silicon Valley was the real censor during the 2020 election, but Mehdi just claps back hard. He's like, you're mad about Hunter Biden's story being throttled? That's literally what Musk is doing right now. And he's right about that. Musk has nuked accounts, restricted access to stories about himself, and even suspended journalists. Mehdi brings receipts, and Piers, he's just flailing around here.
Do you support Donald Trump suing a pollster because he doesn't like a poll result?
I think Donald
Trump... This is insane, Piers. I thought you were a free
can
speech
sue
champion,
who he likes.
but now you're rolling over for Trump as well.
Donald Trump can sue who he likes.
Do you support it, is my question. Do you support a president of the United States suing media organizations he doesn't like?
Do you believe
that, do you?
Do you believe he has a right to?
So you're rolling over like Mark Zuckerberg as well.
Wow, do you believe he has a right to sue people?
For Donald Trump.
Does he have a right to sue people?
Of course he has a right to, but is he right to?
Okay, then we're agreed.
Is he right to?
Then we're agreed.
Dodging.
Then we're agreed.
No, it doesn't. No, we're not agreed. Do you support his lawsuit? Yes or no?
Doesn't matter.
It's a very simple question.
Doesn't matter.
Oh, you're too scared to answer. Got it.
No, Donald Trump sues people all the time.
Do you think he's right to sue the pollster? And do you agree with it? You have strong views, Piers, but you're not telling me to.
Let's get to your strong. Let's get to your.
Like Mark Zuckerberg.
Let's get to your strong views, Mehdi.
Oh yeah, let's change the subject.
No,
so I
think you've forgotten whose show it is.
Question. Do you support Donald Trump's lawsuit?
It's not your show.
Do you support Donald Trump's lawsuit?
It's not your show. I'm
pollster?
asking you the questions.
All right. Well, everyone can see that you don't want to answer the question.
They can. They can see that I want to ask you questions, not have you pepper me with questions. Now, let me ask you a question. This gang rape scandal in the UK is horrific, has always been horrific. I think it was despicable in terms of the details. I think it was despicable it took so long for it all to get properly exposed. I still don't think it has been. I think it was utterly despicable that the scale of the cover-up, whether it was the police, whether it was council officials, whether it was social workers, everyone whose job it was to protect these young girls failed them spectacularly. I think on that we're probably completely in agreement.
Yes.
The issue that is raging now is whether there should be a new national inquiry and whether someone like Elon Musk, in his very blunt, often very abusive manner, as we've seen with the rhetoric he's used against Keir Starmer and Jess Phillips and others,
dishonest,
which I don't agree with, the way he's phrased himself with some of these, particularly Jess Phillips after the murder of 2 MPs in the UK. So I think, again, we'd agree on that. But I've also taken the sort of back step and gone, actually, I do think there should be another national inquiry. I do think the first one, they didn't act on any of the findings anyway, but actually the first one was very wide-ranging. And actually what it needs, it seems to me, from all I've read and seen this week, it needs a more specific national inquiry that focuses specifically on this northern rape gang scandal in all the 50 towns and villages that was happening. So we can actually get to the bottom of exactly who got abused and raped, who did it, what happened to them, have the perpetrators properly been brought to account, have the ones who were here on, maybe dual passports being deported, whatever it may be. In other words, proper accountability right from bottom to the top. And potentially people going to prison over this are not just the perpetrators of the rape, but perpetrators of the cover-up. Now, A, do you agree with that? And B, Elon Musk pushing this, is that actually a big problem, notwithstanding you and I agree about the rhetoric being wrong?
And then it just keeps getting worse for Piers. Mehdi just presses him straight up. Do you support Trump suing journalists just because he doesn't like what they say? And Piers just completely dodges this. He just starts rambling about whether Trump has the right to sue. Like, that's not even the question. Mehdi's like, yeah, of course he has the right, but is he right to do it? And Piers just won't touch it. He just keeps folding and tries to spin it back on Mehdi. And when that fails, he just starts reaching for any weak talking points.
So, okay, 2 questions. Let me deal with both of them. On number 1, I'm glad you asked that question. It's the first time I've been on your show and we actually don't have to argue along left-right lines where I'm the lefty and you pretend not to be a right-winger. This isn't a left-right issue. It's actually an issue of what do you think is the right way forward, right? This is a horrific scandal. What happened to children in the UK is disgusting. It is one of the great crimes of our time. No doubt about that. And I can't even read the details. It's sickening. Horrific, it's disgusting. Yeah. And by the way, this happened. A lot of this, it's ongoing, obviously. It's an ongoing problem in every country. But, the real scandals happened 10, 15 years ago, and that's what's tragic that we're talking about it now. But I would say to you, look, on the national inquiry point, I don't know. It's not a left-right issue. So I did sit down this week to kind of get my thoughts together. What do I think about this? I'm not an expert on this stuff, nor are you. So kind of I looked at what the experts are saying, and 2 people I respect very much in this field. One is Professor Alexis Jay, who ran the independent inquiry on child sexual abuse. It was a 7-year investigation from 2015 to 2022, cost over £100 million. I think it's 468 pages long. I haven't been able to read all of it, but I read the 20 recommendations she made, Piers, and I think it's a scandal that the Conservative government, people like Liz Truss, and Suella Braverman and Robert Jenrick, who are jumping on this far-right bandwagon, to quote Keir Starmer, outrageously did nothing, Piers.
Well, he's actually reined back, to be fair, he's actually reined back on that phrase today in Parliament, in PMQs. And he's said he understands
it. Good for him.
He basically has made it clear you're not necessarily far right if you think there should be a national inquiry, which I'm glad he's done.
No, of course not. And that wasn't the point.
I'm not far right.
That wasn't the point. It's not. No. No, but that wasn't the point. His words were misconstrued. I heard his words. He was making very clear that Conservative politicians who are using this for political gain are jumping on a far right back. That's a separate point. Obviously, calling for an inquiry is not far right. As I just said to you, I was about to call for an inquiry till I did some reading and said, here's what Alexis Jay says. She says, I did this report, 460
But there's a big problem with that report.
Recommendations. The Conservative...
Yeah, but you mentioned, but Mehdi, you mentioned how many... Okay, but look, you mentioned how many pages are in the report. Do you know how many times Rotherham got mentioned?
No, but she did a separate report on Rotherham as
No,
well.
but do you
Did
know how many
that?
times it got
Alexis
mentioned
J,
in the national
2015.
report?
But she did a report on Rotherham.
No.
Because she did a specific... You know there's an independent report
Yeah,
on
but I'm
Rotherham
talking
as
about
well.
the national report. Do you know how many times it got mentioned, Rotherham?
No.
Once. So the absolute...
She also did a separate
So the
185
absolute...
page...
It's
But hold on,
my
hold on.
point,
She also
though-
did a separate...
No, my point, though, is that the epicenter of this scandal was Rotherham, and yet it merited one mention
but why-
in her national report. And that's the point that people are making, which is actually, that national report was
it's not
so
the point.
wide-ranging, taking in all sorts of different kinds of abuse, that it couldn't properly focus on this actual specific scandal of predominantly British Pakistani men abusing young white girls. That's the scandal that needs a proper laser-like focus, I think.
So wrapping this up, Mehdi's still clearly standing strong here. He keeps bringing facts, quoting experts, and just refusing to let any emotional rhetoric override real solutions. He actually took the time to read these recommendations from a 7-year inquiry and made his case based on that, not some knee-jerk reaction. What surprised me though is Piers managed to land one solid critique here, and that's at the epicenter of the scandal, Rotherham, which I gotta give him credit for even after being so biased towards Trump this whole debate. And speaking of bias, are you getting tired of getting news from biased news sources? One outlet says one thing and another says the complete opposite? How are you supposed to know what's actually true? That's where ground news comes in. It lets you compare how different media outlets, whether it's left, right, or center, are covering the same story. So you can see the full picture instead of just the echo chamber. And here's the best part. Click the link in the description and get a 40% off the Vantage tier, which gives you even deeper insights in media bias and political trends. So stay informed, think for yourself, and check out ground news in the description down below.